Alright, people of astrology, world of astrology, what is up? Piscean is here to talk about astrocartography. Piscean ponders heavily on astrocartography. You may ask why. Well, because astrocartography is amazing and astrology is amazing, and if you don't know about astrology, I suggest you subscribe, like, and comment right now so you can learn about it. Okay? So let's go over some stuff in regards to astrocartography. Start with this. Before there were even maps, all right, there were lines. The ancestors drew them in the sand, carved them in stone, traced them on skin. They weren't arbitrary. They followed something, a feeling, a knowing, a memory encoded in bone and blood. The lines connected sacred places, mountain to mountain, spring to spring, stone circle to stone circle. Modern scholarship calls them ley lines. We call them terrestrial meridians. Pathways through which the Earth's energy flows, organizing the planetary body just as acupuncture meridians organize the human body. Astrocartography is the science of mapping these meridians against the sky. It asks, where on Earth does a particular planetary energy find its most powerful expression? The answer is not metaphor, it's a geodetic fact. When you stand at a place where your natal Jupiter crosses the local horizon, you are not imagining Jupiter's influence. You are positioning yourself within a celestial terrestrial resonance cavity. The planet's wave function and the Earth's geodetic field entangle at that point. Your presence completes the circuit. This almanac, this video, is your guide to that circuit. Let's talk about the history of astrocartography, a geodetic chronicle. The ancient precedent, sacred geography as implicit astrocartography. Long before Jim Lewis codified the techniques of modern astrocartography, ancient peoples understood that places have horoscopes. The temples of Karnak and Luxor were not randomly sited. Their axes align with the rising points of specific stars. Sirius, Orion, the circumpolar stars, on specific dates. The entire Theban necropolis is a geodetic zodiac, with each temple corresponding to a celestial body and positioned according to its earthly resonance. Well, here's what the Egyptians understood. To honor a star, build where its line touches Earth. The practice of Feng Shui, literally wind water, is fundamentally astrocartographic. The Lopan compass, used for centuries to site buildings and site cities, that incorporates the 28 lunar mansions. Is the positions of Jupiter, and the cycles of the moon. A building's orientation to the celestial bodies determines the flow of qi within it. This is the Chinese Feng Shui tradition. Let's talk about the Mesoamerican codices. So the Maya and Aztec understood that cities must be oriented to the sky. The layout of Teotihuacan, with its pyramid of the sun aligned to the setting of the Pleiades, represents a terrestrial mandala of celestial positions. To stand at Teotihuacan during the Pleiades zenith was to become the axis mundi, the point where heaven and earth meet. These ancient practices weren't primitive astrology. In fact, they were sophisticated geodetic technologies whose principles we are only now rediscovering. The ancients knew that Earth is not a neutral stage, but an active participant in the celestial drama. Every place has a horoscope. Every location amplifies certain planetary energies and diminishes others. They built accordingly. talk about the medieval transmission, astrological geography in the Islamic Golden Age. So the systematic mapping of planetary influences across the Earth's surface reached new heights under Islamic astronomers and geographers. So, Al-Biruni's geodetic tables. The great Persian polymath Al-Biruni, 973 through 1048 CE, compiled tables linking celestial positions to terrestrial latitudes. His Kanun al-Maisuri includes calculations for determining the climate region corresponding to each planetary configuration. A person born under a particular sky would find their most favorable locations at specific latitudes. Let's talk about the Baghdad school. Astrologers at the House of Wisdom developed techniques for relocating charts, determining how a natal chart would manifest in different geographic locations. They understood what modern astrocartography confirms. Move to a different longitude and your angles change. Move to a different latitude and your house cusps shift. Medieval Islamic astrologers lacked the computational tools to produce actual astrocartography maps, but they possessed the theoretical framework. They understood that the relationship between a natal chart and a location is not arbitrary. It is a function of the angles between the local horizon and the planet's positions at birth. This understanding would not be fully realized for another 1,000 years. Now we're going to have to plug my computer in. So, let's talk about the modern revolution, Jim Lewis and the birth of astrocartography. The history of astrocartography as a distinct discipline begins with one man, Jim Lewis, 1941 through 1995. In the early 1970s, Lewis was a graduate student in geography at the University of California, Berkeley. He was also an astrologer. The combination was inevitable. Lewis reasoned, if a natal chart's angles, ascendant, midheaven, descendant, Imun Coli, IC, are determined by the intersection of the ecliptic with the local horizon and meridian, then as one moves across the Earth's surface, these angles change. A planet that was not angular at birth could become angular elsewhere. He began calculating by hand, with slide rule and ephemeris, the longitudes where each planet would cross the ascendant and midheaven. The patterns that emerged were astonishing. Lewis's first astrocartography maps were crude by modern standards, hand-drawn lines on Mercator projections calculated for individual clients. But they worked. Clients reported that moving to locations where planets were angular produced measurable changes in their experience of those planetary energies. Lewis refined his method over decades, establishing the core principles that remain central to astrocartography today. Essentially, this is the development of the astrocartography technique. We have our ascendant lines, AC, where a planet crosses the eastern horizon. The planet's energy becomes self-expressed, projected outward, part of one's identity. Descendant lines, DC, where a planet crosses the western horizon. The planet's energy becomes projected onto others, experienced through relationships. Midheaven lines, MC, where a planet crosses the upper meridian. The planet's energy becomes public, career-oriented, manifest in the world. Imun Coli lines, IC, where a planet crosses the lower meridian. The planet's energy becomes private, domestic, rooted in home and family. Lewis founded astrocartography as a service, producing thousands of personalized maps for clients worldwide. His work inspired a generation of astrologers to think geographically, to recognize that where you are shapes who you are as profoundly as when you were born. We honor Jim Lewis as astrologers as the father of modern astrocartography, but as we shall see, his work was only the beginning. Let's talk about the computational revolution, from hand calculation to global mapping. The advent of personal computers in the 1980s and the internet in the 1990s transformed astrocartography from a niche specialty to a widely accessible tool. Programs like SolarFire and AstroGold integrated astrocartography modules, allowing users to generate maps instantly for any birth data. The laborious hand calculations of the Lewis era became obsolete. Online services like Astro.com and AstroSeek made astrocartography available to anyone with an internet connection. A user could enter their birth data and receive within seconds a global map showing where each planetary line crossed the Earth. So, what I want to provide as an astrologer and an innovator and a social networker is advanced astrocartography beyond the basic Lewis model, right? So what I'm going to add to the mix is harmonic lines, not just the angles, but other significant points like the fifth harmonic, the seventh harmonic, the ninth harmonic. These are relationships. Paran lines, where multiple planets activate simultaneously, creating zones of concentrated energy. Local space lines, directions from a specific location, not just global lines. Excuse me. And topological lines accounting for Earth's curvature in the 4D structure of space-time. All right? Let's go through the quantum topological synthesis, astrocartography in the 21st century. And here's how we're going to revolutionize astrocartography by integrating the discoveries of previous videos that I've actually made. So, astrocartography lines are not merely symbolic. They're quantum entanglement zones. When you stand on your Jupiter line, your wave function couples with Jupiter's wave function through the Earth's geodetic field. The resonance is measurable. We extend astrocartography into 4D. Traditional maps show lines on a 2D surface. Topological cartography reveals the curved manifold of Earth's surface in relation to the celestial sphere. So a Jupiter line is not a line, but a geodesic, the shortest path through curved space-time connecting you to Jupiter's influence. Mapping the interaction between astrocartography lines and the noosphere, certain locations, power points, sacred sites, places of pilgrimage show, elevated interference with the universe as a whole, like collective consciousness when planetary lines align with them. Like these are noospheric amplifiers, places where individual and collective consciousness interact most intensely. Geodetic astrology, demonstrating that Earth itself has an astrocartography, lines where its own natal planets cross its surface, creating zones of intensified planetary energy that persist for millennia. Of course, we're going to go through aliens and extended astrocartography beyond Earth using the exo-zodiac protocol, calculating where planetary lines would fall on Mars or on Venus, on the Moon. And future colonists will not merely live on other worlds, they will relocate within those worlds' astrocartographies. Non-human intelligences and their activity zones. These are places where the veil between human and non-human reality is thin, where contact is more likely and communication flows more easily. Essentially identified locations on Earth where astrocartography lines intersect with those activity zones, whether it's Pluto or wherever. Now the principles of astrocartography, I believe, first, with the geodetic coordinate system, to understand astrocartography, one must first understand how celestial positions translate to terrestrial lines. The celestial sphere, imagine the sky as a sphere surrounding Earth. The planets move across the sphere, and their positions are measured in right ascension, celestial longitude, and declination, celestial latitude. The terrestrial sphere, Earth is also a sphere. Positions are measured in longitude, east-west, and latitude, north-south. The mapping principle, at any given moment, a specific point on Earth has a specific relationship to the celestial sphere. The ascendant is the sign rising on the eastern horizon at that point. The midheaven is the sign culminating on the meridian. As you move east or west, your ascendant actually changes, and as you move north or south, your midheaven changes. Let's talk about the lines. An astrocartography line is a set of all points on Earth where a given planet occupies a given angle at a given time. For a natal chart, we use the moment of birth. For a relocated chart, we use the same moment, but we calculate the angles for each location. Alright, so the result would be a map showing ascendant lines, where the planet was rising at your birth, DC lines, where the planet was setting at your birth, MC lines, where the planet was culminating at your birth, and IC lines, where the planet was anti-culminating at your birth. So let's observe the planetary signatures, what each line even means. Well, the interpretation of astrocartography lines draws on traditional planetary meanings, modified by the angle involved. For example, our sun lines. So the sun's ascendant, identity expressed openly, ego amplified, visibility, good for performers, leaders, anyone who needs to be seen, which I beg to differ is all of us. Sun MC, career success, public recognition, achievement, good for professionals, politicians, public figures. Sun DC, relationships with powerful or famous people, projection of ego onto partners, good for spouses of public figures. And Sun IC, private identity, home as sanctuary, family legacy, good for domestic life and real estate, family business. Alright? And then we're going to go from Sun through the nodes. So look at Moon. You can't look at it, but let's observe Moon and the moon lines. So Moon AC, emotional expression, public feeling, sensitivity to the environment. It's good for therapists, artists, anyone working with emotions. Moon MC, public emotional connection, nurturing career, work with the public, good for teachers, nurses, caregivers. Moon DC, emotional relationships, nurturing partners, projection of mother onto others, good for family work, counseling. And Moon IC, deep emotional roots, family home, ancestral connection, good for genealogy, family healing, domestic peace. Mercury lines, alright? Mercury AC, communication, writing, speaking, teaching. It's good for writers, speakers, teachers. Mercury MC, intellectual career, media, publishing, good for journalists, broadcasters, academics. Mercury DC, intellectual partnerships, communication and relationships, good for collaborative work, partnerships. Mercury IC, private study, home office, family communication, good for writers, researchers, remote workers. Venus lines, Venus AC, beauty, charm, social grace, good for artists, socialites, anyone in beauty or fashion. Venus MC, artistic career, public appreciation, social success. It's good for performers, designers, luxury trades. Venus DC, loving relationships, partnerships, marriage, good for couples, marriage counseling, partnerships. Venus IC, home beauty, family love, domestic harmony, good for interior design, family life, home-based art. Mars lines. Mars AC is assertiveness, energy, direct action, good for athletes, entrepreneurs, anyone needing courage. Mars MC, ambitious career, competitive success, public action, good for executives, military, competitors. Mars DC, dynamic relationships, passionate partnerships, occasional conflict. It's good for couples who need passion, sports partnerships. Mars IC, home energy, domestic activity, family projects, good for home renovations, family business, active home life. Jupiter lines, Jupiter AC, expansion, optimism, opportunity, good for growth, travel, education. Jupiter MC, career success, recognition, abundance, good for business, academia, publishing. Jupiter DC, lucky relationships, beneficial partnerships, marriage to foreigners, good for international partnerships, cross-cultural work. Jupiter IC, home expansion, family growth, domestic abundance, good for real estate, family business, home-based expansion. Saturn lines, Saturn AC, responsibility, discipline, seriousness, good for careers requiring structure but can feel heavy. Saturn MC, career achievement through hard work, recognition from authority, good for traditional careers, government work. Saturn DC, serious relationships, karmic partnerships, older partners, good for committed relationships, business partnerships. Saturn IC, home responsibility, family duty, care for elders, good for family obligations, property management. Uranus lines. Uranus AC, individuality, rebellion, sudden changes, good for innovators but unpredictable. Uranus MC, unconventional career, sudden success, technological work, good for tech, innovation, startups. Uranus DC, unusual relationships, sudden partnerships, freedom in relationships, good for open relationships, creative partnerships. Uranus IC, unconventional home, sudden moves, family disruptions, good for those who enjoy change but challenging for stability. Neptune lines. Neptune AC, sensitivity, spirituality, artistic expression, good for artists, mystics, healers. Neptune MC, creative career, spiritual work, public inspiration, good for musicians, filmmakers, spiritual teachers. Neptune DC, idealized relationships, spiritual partnerships, potential deception, good for artistic partnerships, but caution with reality. Neptune IC, spiritual home, inspired family life, creative domesticity, good for artists, spiritual practitioners, creative families. Pluto lines, Pluto AC, intensity, power, transformation, good for healers, researchers, those in power. Pluto MC, powerful career, transformative public work, research, good for investigators, therapists, leaders. Pluto DC, intense relationships, transformative partnerships, power dynamics, good for deep relationship work, therapy. And Pluto IC, home transformation, family karma, deep domestic work, good for family healing, ancestral work. In our node lines, our north node Rahu and its AC, destiny express, purpose manifested, karmic direction. And our south node Ketu AC, comfortable but potentially stuck, familiar patterns. Now we observe our Puran lines, the intersection of influences. So when two or more planetary lines intersect, they create a Puran, a zone of multiple influences. These are the most powerful locations on an astrocartography map. And we have types of Purans. We have conjunction Puran, multiple planets on the same exact angle. For example, Venus and Jupiter, both on the midheaven, amplified energy, blended influences. We have an opposition Puran, planets on opposite angles. For example, Sun on the ascendant, Saturn on the descendant, intention, balance, relationship, dynamics. We have a square Puran, planets on perpendicular angles. For example, Mars on the ascendant, Pluto on the midheaven, dynamic tension, transformative challenges. And we have a trine Puran, planets on harmonious angles. For example, Jupiter on the ascendant, Venus on the midheaven, and that's flow, ease, natural talent. Our analysis of Puran zones reveals that they correlate with sacred sites. Many ancient temples and pilgrimage centers lie on powerful Purans. Major cities, capitals, and economic centers often develop at Puran intersections. Personal turning points moving to a Puran zone often catalyzes major life changes. All right. And we just have quite a bit more to go over because it's such a big topic, astrocartography. So just bear with me. All right, local space lines, directional astrocartography. So traditional astrocartography maps global lines, right? Local space maps show directions from a specific location. From any point on Earth, each planet has a specific direction, the azimuth at which it would have appeared at the moment of your birth. Local space lines radiate from your location in those directions. So this is how we interpret that. Traveling in a planet's direction activates that planet's energy. Buildings, rooms, or workplaces oriented along a planet's direction focuses that energy. Relationships with people who live in that direction may carry that planet's signature. We've found that local space directions are particularly significant for home and office design, orienting rooms along beneficial directions, city planning, understanding the energetic geography of urban areas, and relationship compatibility, comparing local space directions between partners. Let's look at personal development through Astro-Cartography. The relocation chart. You are not fixed. I am not fixed. In fact, we are all broken. Everything is broken. The most powerful personal application of Astro-Cartography is the relocation chart, a chart calculated for your birth moment but your current location. Your natal chart is fixed in time but not in space. Move to a different location and your angles change. The planets remain in the same signs and houses in whole sign systems, but their relationship to your ascendant, rising sign, and midheaven MC shifts. What changes? House positions in Placidus and other quadrant systems. House changes with location, okay? Angularity. Planets that were not angular may become angular and vice versa. Aspects to angles. New relationships form between planets and the relocated ascendant, midheaven. What stays the same? Planet sign positions. The sun remains in the same sign. Planet aspects. Venus still trines Jupiter regardless of location. The essential self, you remain you. The relocation process. Identify your purpose. What do you want to activate? Career, being your midheaven. Relationships, being your descendant. Self-expression, being your ascendant rising sign or your home life. Imun Coli, I see. Find the corresponding planet. Which planet rules that area of life? Locate that planet's lines. Where on Earth does that planet cross the relevant angle? Consider Purans. Are there other planets activating the same location? Visit or relocate. Experience the energy firsthand. All right, a step-by-step guide on personal application. We generate your maps. So use a reputable service. I recommend Astro.com, Astroseek.com, or SolarFire to generate a world map showing all planetary lines, regional maps for areas of interest, local space maps for your current location. And then you identify your goals. What do you seek as an individual? Career advancement. You look for Jupiter, Sun, Mars, midheaven lines. Love and relationship, look for Venus, Moon, descendant lines. Spiritual development, look for Neptune, Pluto, Rahu, the North Node lines. Creative expression, look for Venus, Sun, Neptune, and ascendant lines. Healing, we look for Chiron, Moon, and Neptune lines. Adventure and growth, we look for Jupiter and Uranus lines. And how do you research your lines? Well, for each line of interest, we read the interpretation, consider the Purans, research the actual locations, the climate, culture, practical considerations, and prioritize. You cannot be everywhere at once. Prioritize based on strength of influence, Purans stronger than single lines, alignment with your goals, and practical feasibility. And then you visit. If possible, you visit your chosen locations. Even a short visit can reveal the quality of the energy. Pay attention to how you feel. Energized, peaceful, challenged. What happens? Opportunities, encounters, insights. What do locals say to you? Does this place have a reputation? And relocate or integrate. If a location proves transformative, consider relocation. If not, integrate the experience. Bring artifacts from place into your home. Meditate on the direction of the line. Work with the planetary energy in your current location. Let's use my own natal chart to show you exactly how to do this. All right? Well, actually, it's not exactly mine. Actually, we're going to say March 3rd, 2026, 4:17 a.m. GMT. So definitely not mine. But Sun is in Pisces, Moon's in Libra, Mercury's in Pisces, Venus is in Pisces, and so forth. So I'll just show you what I mean. We would map out the key Astro-Cartography lines. So Venus AC line, like Venus at 0 degrees 02 Pisces in the natal chart, it would cross the ascendant at approximately a certain longitude. And this line would run through a region. Here, the native's Venus energy, which is love, beauty, and value, becomes self-expressed, and they would find it easy to be charming, artistic, and socially graceful. And this is an excellent location for creative work, relationships, and social life. All right? And then we go on. We look at the Sun MC line and how Sun at certain degrees of a certain zodiac sign crosses that midheaven at a classified longitude and where the line runs through a certain region. Then the Neptune MC line, where Neptune crosses the midheaven at the approximate longitude, Pluto crosses, and so forth. Oops. I do want to give a few advanced techniques. All right. Beyond the basics of astrocartography. So harmonic astrocartography, not just the angles, but the 5th, 7th, and 9th harmonic points can be mapped. A 5th harmonic Venus line, 72 degrees from the ascendant, carries creative artistic energy. A 7th harmonic Jupiter line, approximately 51.4 degrees, carries inspired visionary energy. Progressed astrocartography. As your progressed chart changes, your astrocartography lines shift. So a location that was neutral at birth may become powerful at age 30. We offer progressed astrocartography calculations for clients in significant transition periods. No other astrologer is doing this. Solar return astrocartography. Each year, your solar return chart can be mapped. Spending your birthday on a beneficial line can set the tone for the entire year. We have synastric astrocartography, comparing your lines with the partners. Where do your lines intersect? These are locations where your relationship energy is amplified. Couples who live at such intersections report deeper connections and shared purposes. And collective astrocartography, cities, nations, and the entire planet. We all have astrocartography lines in this universe based on their founding charts. Understanding these lines helps explain regional characteristics and predict collective trends. Traditional astrocartography maps lines on a flat projection of a curved surface. This introduces distortion, the same distortion that makes Greenland appear larger than Africa on Mercator maps. Topological cartography corrects for this by mapping lines on an actual sphere, or more accurately on the geoid, Earth's true shape. The result is a more accurate representation of where planetary energies actually touch Earth. But topology offers more than accuracy. It reveals the curved manifold of Earth's surface in relation to the celestial sphere. A Jupiter line is not a line, but a geodesic, the shortest path through curved space-time connecting you to Jupiter's influence. When you stand on your Jupiter line, you are not just anywhere. You are at that point where the curved manifold of Earth intersects the curved manifold of Jupiter's influence. The geometry is precise. The resonance is real. Look at that. I'll take my hoodie off. All right. Let's look at wormhole cartography. If aspects create wormholes in the natal chart, as we established in a previous lecture on this channel, subscribe, like, and comment, then astrocartography lines create terrestrial wormholes, points where Earth's surface connects directly to planetary influences through higher dimensions. A Piscean zone is not just an intersection of lines, it is a nexus of wormholes, a place where multiple dimensions intersect, where the veil is thin, where transformation is possible. Quantum locality, the observer effect in space. The observer effect is not limited to time, it applies to space as well. So when you stand on your Venus line, you're not just receiving Venus's influence, you're collapsing a probability, choosing to experience Venus in a particular way. Another person with a different natal chart standing on the same spot would collapse a different wave function. This is why two people can visit the same place and have completely different experiences. The place has no fixed meaning. Meaning emerges from the interaction between the place's geodetic field and the observer's quantum state. Let's talk about the relocation wave function. When you relocate, you are not just moving your body, you are repositioning your wave function within Earth's quantum field. The probabilities available to you shift. New timelines become accessible, old ones recede. This is why relocation can be so transformative. It is not magic, it is quantum mechanics applied to geography. Noospheric cartography, mapping collective consciousness. The noosphere has geography. Certain places consistently show Thorne Coherence Index, TCI, regardless of who is present. And these are noospheric power points, places where the collective consciousness naturally coheres. Our mapping of noospheric power points reveals striking correlations with astrocartography lines. Glastonbury, UK. Multiple planetary lines intersect, creating a Piscean zone that has been sacred for millennia. Sedona, strong Uranus and Neptune lines create a zone of spiritual innovation and artistic inspiration. Mount Kailash, Tibet, Jupiter and Neptune lines converge, creating a place of pilgrimage and spiritual power. Uluru, Australia, Saturn and Pluto lines intersect, creating a place of deep karmic resonance. Your personal relationship to the noosphere varies by location. Using our noospheric mapping technology, we can identify places where your presence would most effectively raise collective coherence and places where you might be drained by the collective. Exo-cartography, mapping other worlds. So astrocartography is not limited to Earth. As humanity expands into the solar system, we must understand the astrocartography of other worlds. Lunar astrocartography, the moon with its low gravity and tidal locking, presents unique astrocartographic features. A Jupiter line on the moon would have different effects than on Earth. Expansive, yes, but in a low gravity environment. Expansion might manifest as disorientation rather than opportunity. Martian astrocartography, Mars, with its thin atmosphere and harsh environment, would amplify Mars lines tremendously. A Mars MC line on Mars might be too intense for human habitation, a place of extreme ambition, but also extreme danger. We are currently mapping the astrocartography of the moon for future lunar bases, Mars for colonization planning, Venus for orbital habitats in the asteroid series for mining operations, and these maps will be essential for the next phase of human expansion, so stay tuned. Let's talk about NHI site identification. Non-human intelligences have their own geography. Aliens, whatever you want to call them, even though it may be disrespectful to them in the future, who knows? They're drawn to certain places where the Earth's geodetic field resonates with their frequencies. Our analysis of NHI activity reports reveals consistent correlations with astrocartography lines. So Uranus lines, bringing sudden, unexpected contact, abduction experiences. Neptune lines, bringing spiritual contact, channeling visionary experiences. Pluto lines, bringing deep transformative contact, often frightening but ultimately healing. And node lines, bringing karmic contact, meetings with beings from past life connections. The contact zone, certain locations appear reportedly in NHI reports. The Gulf of Mexico, multiple Uranus lines intersect. The Peruvian Andes, strong Neptune lines. The Australian outback, Pluto lines. The Scottish Highlands, node lines. These are not random, they are actually contact zones, places where the veil between human and non-human reality is naturally thin. Alright. So, we went over that you should, before you even decide to up and leave somewhere, whether it's a short vacation or you want to move there, meditate on the planetary energy you'll be working with, set those clear intentions, prepare for the unexpected. Planetary lines amplify, and amplification can be surprising. When you're there, pay attention to your body, emotions, and thoughts. Keep a journal, note any synchronicities, encounters, or insights. Be open to the energy, but grounded in reality. And after you return, if you do review your journal, integrate what you've learned, consider whether longer-term relocation is warranted, and share your experiences with us on the channel. Let's talk about long-term relocation. If a location proves transformative, consider relocation. Yes, calculate a relocation chart for your new home. This chart, using your birth moment but new coordinates, shows how your energy will manifest in this place. So our key factors are the angular planets, where each planets are now angular. These become dominant in your life. House changes and quadrant systems, houses shift. Your 10th house career might become your 7th house relationships in a new location. Aspects to angles, new relationships form between planets and the relocated ascendant and midheaven. Relocation, it's not an escape, but your natal chart remains your foundation. The relocation chart shows how that foundation expresses in a new environment. You cannot outrun your karma, but you can find environments where your karma is easier to work with. Let's talk about the 2026 through 2100 arc and astrocartography. So the great reweaving, as I call it, it transforms humanity's relationship to Earth and to Earth's geography, because we have Pluto in Aquarius until 2044, and during this period, astrocartography lines related to networks, technology, and collectives will be amplified. Uranus lines, innovation, and Aquarius ruled lines will be particularly active, such as Saturn. Mainly Neptune and Aries, we have until 2039, boundaries dissolving. Neptune lines become portals to other dimensions, and the distinction between here and there blurs. Travel becomes spiritual practice. Uranus in Gemini until 2033, communication revolution. Mercury lines become superhighways of information. Places where Mercury lines intersect may become centers of technological innovation. We recommend during this period to consider visiting your Uranus lines for breakthrough experiences, living on your Neptune lines for spiritual development, working on your Mercury lines for creative projects, and avoiding your Pluto lines unless you're ready for deep transformation. Ethical considerations. Yes, I have a Jupiter in Libra, so I love ethics and rules and whatnot. I've never broken any laws, so I don't plan on it. So ethical considerations. Astro-Cartography is powerful. With power comes responsibility. The ethics of relocation. Do not relocate to escape problems that follow you. They will. Do not relocate without considering the impact on others, family, community. Do not relocate to places where your presence might harm the environment or local culture. The ethics of interpretation. Do not tell clients they must move. The best places where they can do their work. Do not promise specific outcomes. Astro-Cartography shows potential, not guarantees. Do not ignore practical considerations. Astrology should complement, not override common sense. And the ethics of research. The Institute, myself, maintains a database of Astro-Cartography experiences. Contributions are anonymous unless you choose otherwise, and your experiences help refine our understanding for future generations. Let's conclude this video. The earth beneath your feet. Now we've traveled far, from ancient Egypt to quantum topology, from the lunar nose to the Zeta Reticuli system. On this channel, we've learned that the earth is not a neutral stage, but an active participant in our astrological drama. Every place has a horoscope. Every location amplifies certain energies and diminishes others. The question is not whether astrology works. It works everywhere. The question is, where do you need to be? The answer lies in your chart, in your soul, in your ego, in the quiet voice that whispers when you stand in a place that feels like home. Astro-Cartography doesn't create that feeling. It reveals where it already exists. Now go forth, wizards. Find your lines, walk them, live them, become the person you were born to be in the place where the stars themselves support you. The universe, the earth awaits, the sky calls, and the lines are drawn. You walk them. Let's go through some appendixes. I have Astro-Cartography resources. Astro.com, of course, it's free. Solar Fire, it's professional software. AstroSeek is free. Glossary of terms, so AC line, where a planet crosses the ascendant at birth. DC line, where a planet crosses the descendant at birth. MC line, where a planet crosses the midheaven at birth. IC line, where a planet crosses the Imum Coli at birth. Paran, intersection of multiple planetary lines. Local space, directions from a specific location. Relocation chart, natal chart recalculated for a new location. Geodetic field, Earth's energetic structure. Nospheric power point, location of high collective coherence. And our recommended reading, Astro-Cartography by Jim Lewis. Mapping Your Travels and Relocation by Rob Kautu. The Geography of Consciousness by Dr. Priya Sharma. I'm joking around. These are all, not all of these actually are made up. The first one isn't, but the rest of these I'm joking because if you've seen my channel, I talked about these. So the earth is a mirror of the sky and every place reflects a star. Find your star, find your place, become whole. Okay? With peace and love, subscribe, like, and comment, and I'll see you in the next one talking more astrology. Piscean out.